Hello, and welcome to this Chaos Control Cloud explainer video on how to get the most out of our dispatch functionality. This video is going to take you through how Chaos Control Cloud allows you to fulfill your orders, so to get your pick, pack, and dispatch done as quickly and efficiently as possible. We're going to start off with an overview of the sales invoice screen, and then we're going to take you through how you'd select and process a batch of orders from start to finish. So let's begin. We're in the dashboard at the minute and we've got our what's new stuff up. We're going to go and have a look at our dispatch screen, which is the hub in Chaos Control Cloud for all of your fulfillment activity. So if we click on dispatch, in here we've got three separate options: our invoice manager, our confirm shipment dialog, and our backorder manager. During this video, we're going to focus on the sales invoice manager and we're going to touch upon confirm shipment as well. So we click into sales invoice manager. So straight away, you can see we've got a lot going on. This is the real hub of your business in terms of pick, pack, and dispatch. So everything you've imported from your different channels, from your website, anything you've keyed in because the customer's phoned up or placed a mail order, has come into the invoice manager in one form or another. By default, if an order can be fulfilled, or Chaos Control Cloud thinks it can be fulfilled, it will drop into your staging stage. And I'm going to come back to what staging and the other elements of our order process mean shortly. But I'd just like to start by giving you a brief overview of this screen and what's going on. So, the invoice manager is where every order that we can or should be thinking of fulfilling drops in. It also allows us to control credit notes and quotations that we're handling for our customers, as well as providing an archive of every invoice that we've issued previously. In terms of getting around the screen, you'll see there's a grid. Each of those grid columns can be sorted as you'd expect, and we can turn everything back to normal. We also have filters. Now, in the invoice manager, filters are the real beating heart of what we can do. So if we click on that filters button, you can see we get a long list of different ways in which to slice and dice the things we want to work on. And we're going to use this shortly to break down the 100 or so invoices we've got in our staging stage into a group of invoices that kind of tie together and we can process. And you can see within the filter set here, we've got filters that range from things as basic as the date the customer wants the items to be delivered and the stock site you're picking in, through to the courier service you're offering, the priority of the order, stock type you're picking, even the individual stock code should that be relevant. So there's an awful lot of options there for how we can control the workflow and the way in which we're prioritizing what's processed first during our pick, pack, dispatch process. So let's close that for a moment. There's a couple of other things I want to talk about here in terms of look and feel. So you'll notice that there are a number of different colors going on here in terms of the way the text is described. If we click into our color legend button, you can see that all different color sets that the invoice manager is using and which are relevant for you are documented. So anything that's in red text, Chaos Control Cloud is flagging up that that sales order doesn't yet have a payment value specified against. We've also got our background colors highlighted, which we're going to come across as we process that batch of orders I talked about at the start. So we're using background colors to highlight when an invoice is printed, when it's marked as shipped, if we've had any courier failures for assignment and stuff like that. So the final element I'd like to talk about is the pane on the left-hand side of the screen here. You can see that we've broken down our orders into a number of different stages. So these stages allow you to break out your workflow and your process into bite-sized chunks. So two ways this is really powerful are, firstly, it allows you to group activities together. So even if you've just got one person or the same team of people doing everything in terms of your pick, pack, dispatch process, they can break down the different items of work that they need to do, and they can plan, assess, analyze, understand what's going on throughout the course of the day. Secondly, if you've got a slightly bigger team of people and you've got different people responsible for kind of checking orders, making sure payments go through, actually getting goods physically picked, invoicing, shipping, etc., it means that they can focus on the specific stage of your invoice process that's relevant to them. They can just drill into what needs shipping, what needs to be invoiced, etc., and crack on. The other elements within the pane, I'm going to touch on them briefly, but we'll cover them in more detail in future videos, are to do with orders that you can't fulfill at the moment. So your orders future area handles orders that are marked as a waiting date. So they're for a delivery date that's a long time in the future. Items that are awaiting stock. So you've got invoice lines that you can't fulfill at the minute because you haven't got stock in place. So this highlights those rather than letting you waste time trying to pick half an order. And then orders that you've put on manual hold. So it's possible within the Invoice Manager to take an order that you've got a query about or that you know needs to be put to one side for now and move it to that manual hold stage so that no one wastes any time on it. We've also got an area for highlighting credit notes that need to be printed and issued and an area to highlight quotations that are being processed. So these tie into your sales order and your CRM process like normal, but everything's grouped together here in terms of your document management for that kind of stuff. And then finally at the bottom, we've got the orders archive. So we can drill in and look at everything that's already been issued for the business, should anyone have any queries about a historic invoice and stuff. So let's have a look at how we process a batch of invoices through the Invoice Manager. So I'm going to click into the staging stage because that's where we begin in terms of if an order is ready to be picked, it's going to turn up in staging. I'm going to click onto my filters dialog. I'm going to filter by courier. So for the purpose of this, we've got a MetaPack 24-hour courier set up. If I click on go, you can see that our stage numbers, number of orders in each stage ready to be picked, change quite quickly. I'm also going to order by delivery date. So you'll see we've got a number of historic orders in here. I want to pick everything that's due for delivery on the 29th and the 30th that's already paid. So to do that, I can control click on the lines I'm interested in. So control click selects those lines, turns them green like I'm doing at the moment, and that means that I'm then going to be able to move them as a batch. So I've green selected those lines and I want to move them next. So the move next process in the Invoice Manager allows us to say, right, these are the batch of orders I'm going to work with. I want the system to run any checks that need to be made in terms of moving from this stage to the next one in the process. In Khaos Control Cloud by default, the stage that follows staging is authorized payment. So if any payments need to be taken at this point, because we've taken a pre-auth on our channel or our website and we want to take the payment here before we start picking, that would get flagged up there. With all the orders I've selected in this batch, everything's already got payment values against it and it's marked as paid, so it should drop through that authorized payment stage automatically. If the system's got any queries about a line, potentially an authorization code isn't correct, for instance, it'll flag that up and get held in the authorized payment stage. These orders will then drop into picking and I'll be able to process them through in one go. So I've got everything green selected. I'm going to click on my actions button and I'm going to click on move next. Okay, so you can see we've dropped 9 invoices from staging, authorized payments still stuck at 31, and we've dropped through into picking. And again, if I sort by delivery date, so that I've got my most recent orders at the top, because we already had 3 orders in picking, I'm going to make sure I'm playing with the orders I'm interested in. So again, I've sorted by delivery date and I'm going to green select. So this time, everything between that top line and the fourth from bottom, I can just click and then shift click. That green selects everything that I'm interested in. And in the picking stage, there's a couple of things we want to do. We want to print off pick tickets so that we can hand those out to our pickers and packers to go and get all the goods together and make sure we can fulfill everything. And then once we're happy with that and we've checked everything off, we move that onto the next step in the process. So with those lines green selected, I go to my actions button and I click print pick ticket. And so this will generate a batch of pick tickets for everything I've got green selected. You'll see the notifications already there. And if I click on download, Khaos Control Cloud, or bring down that bulk PDF, I can open that up in my browser window, and there we go. So we can see we've got a separate sheet or sheets for each of the invoices that need to be picked. I can print that off. I can hand that over to the team that are going to be getting the work done. Let's clear notifications down and click off that. If we imagine that you've gone away, picked those orders, everything's good to go. We've still got them green selected here from here. So what we can do next is move them into the next stage in the process. So we're happy we've picked everything, we've got everything signed off and we're good to go. So we're going to go back to our actions button and click on move next. Okay, so you can see we've dropped down to our 3 previous orders in picking and the orders in invoicing have gone upwards. So in the invoicing stage, I'm going to do the same as I've done previously in terms of that delivery date column. So we'll sort to make sure that all the most recent orders that we're processing are at the top. The invoicing stage is here so that if, as part of your process, you want to print out and send an invoice with your physical delivery, you can do. Potentially, you might want to generate your invoices and then email those out to your customers as well, or just store copies locally so that you've got those for your records. Again, that's all handled here. So you green select the lines you're interested in, so click and then shift click, and then click on Actions, Print Invoice. Now, the other thing you've got in terms of printing options here is, as well as printing off your invoices, you can also print off delivery notes. So depending on what's appropriate for yourself and your process, you might want to include delivery notes for your customers with their deliveries instead of an invoice, or indeed as well as. Completely up to you. So again, same process, everything's still green selected, so we just be in the invoicing stage, click on actions, and then print delivery note. And again, we're generating these delivery notes for the whole batch of orders that we've got in front of us. You could do this individually for an invoice at a time if you wanted to. So if somebody requested a copy invoice, or you wanted to print a delivery note for an individual order, you're perfectly at liberty to do that as well. We've generated invoices, we've generated delivery notes should we need them. Everything's good here for us to say, right, happy with these, everything's checked off, let's get them marked as shipped, get them ready for collection from the courier and out the door. So everything's still green selected. We're going to move these next into the shipping stage. So in shipping, again, I'm going to sort by that delivery date, so I've got everything grouped together. And I'm going to green select again to make sure that I'm working with the orders I'm interested in. You can see that Village Kids order is already marked as shipped. If I click on the color legend just to confirm for you. So that's one that's already been processed previously by colleagues, so I'm going to leave that well alone. In terms of shipping goods from Chaos Control Cloud, as you'll be aware, we integrate with Metapack at the moment. You can also ship goods manually, which is what we're going to do for this example. So the most important things are firstly to tell Chaos Control Cloud how you've shipped the goods, service they're using, all that kind of jazz, so that if you get a query, your customer service team are all in the loop. Secondly, if you've got consignment references at this point, you want to update those in Chaos Control Cloud, because that again means you've got access to that data within the system. So if a customer phones up asking where their order is, you can start tracking it straight away. It also makes it much easier to share that information with your customers. So with those orders green selected, we go to our actions button and we click on confirm shipment. Now that moves us into the second element of the dispatch function, which we talked about right at the start, which is our confirm shipment screen. So the first thing to note in here is we need to put ourselves into edit mode. We then have two grids that we need to worry about. Our top grid contains all the invoices to be shipped, and our bottom grid contains everything that's already been marked as shipped based on what we already have in the shipping stage. So if we had a general consignment reference for this whole batch, we could scan it in at this point. Again, if the ship date was going to be consistent for the whole batch, we could also specify it there. So we want to make sure that we've got everything green selected that we want to process. I'm going to sort by order date like I have been doing to this point with delivery date, and I'm going to green select all of the lines that I'm interested in. Now, in order to mark these as shipped, you'll see we're getting a nice hint about dragging an item to move. So I can just drag these down to the bottom grid. Okay. I then need to work through each line in terms of courier they've been sent with, so the service that we've used, and the consignment reference. So consignment reference you're going to get from your courier. I'm going to leave everything as Metapack 24-hour. Obviously, you could cut and paste into these fields. There's no limit in terms of the kind of characters they'll handle. And we'll just make sure that all this is defined. On top of that, we could start specifying user that marked these orders as having been shipped. On top of that, we can also specify the weight per invoice. So depending on how you've configured your products, Chaos Control Cloud will automatically calculate the weight per order for you. You can also overwrite that here. On top of that, you can overwrite a number of labels that you need. So if you've had to pack an invoice into more than one box, you can define that you needed to print 2, 3, 4 different labels here. Last but not least, we just got confirmation in terms of which person each of these invoices is for, order dates and ship dates. Okay. So once all that information is defined and we're happy with it, we hit Save Screen and we go back to the Invoice Manager. So if we expand that and refresh that, and you can see that all the orders we've been playing with in terms of our delivery dates are now marked as shipped. So if we were integrated with Metapack at this point, we would then assign these to the Metapack courier in order to produce the labels. Once the couriers actually pick the goods up, we want to move these on from the shipping stage to our issue stage, and that'll be the last step of the process. So let's green select lines we're interested in, and then go back to actions and move next. Our issue stage populates with the invoices we're playing with, and the issue stage is the last step of our process. So this is where everything hits your nominal accounts and your financial records to say that this financial document actually properly exists at this point. We've taken the order, we've taken the payment, we've picked, packed and dispatched the goods. We know that everything's hunky-dory. So what we want to do now is just make sure that we've finalized everything. So that's why we issue the sales invoices. So let's bring the orders that we're working with back up. or green select those, click Actions, and Issue Invoice. If the system has any warnings to display, these pop up at the minute. So for instance, it's worried about 0 stock values on some of my dummy items. I'm going to continue with that. We're going to click Continue, and then Chaos Control Cloud will go away and issue each of those invoices. You can see that the issue stage counts updated automatically, and so is their archive. And again, we can click into the archive, and we can sort by delivery date to quickly find those invoices we've been playing with during that process. So that's it for our overview of the Sales Invoice Manager. I hope we've given you a flavour of the power and capability of this function, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing an overview of how to process a batch of invoices from staging through to issue. Please check out our YouTube for more explainer videos about other features within the Invoice Manager, including handling orders that are awaiting data, awaiting stock, how you handle manual hold, and other features. Thank you very much.